children, how are you? I hope you all are doing well. So children, क्या आपको ऐसे लगता है कि I should not go to school especially on a Monday? Because that day falls after a weekend. Saturday, Sunday is fun days. Both the days are fun. But then comes Monday and then we have to drag ourselves to the school, isn't it? So in this story, in this chapter called the Monday Mania, we are going to discuss about this issue only, which is, which is a tragedy, or something that this boy has to go through every Monday when it's time to go to school. And this boy, he starts making excuses. School nahi jaane ke bahut sare bahane banata tha. So let's see what happens through this story. The prologue says, Tom, this boy called Tom did not like to go to school because he didn't like school. Tom considered school to be a captivity for him. Also, going to school on Monday was most difficult for Tom as he loved the freedom he had on the weekends. With the hope of staying home from school, he makes lame excuses. Let us read and find out whether his plans work out well or not. So, क्या आप भी ऐसे lame excuses बनाते हो for not going to school? Now, let's warm up. Is it normal for children to feel lazy in the morning? How do you deal with it? Discuss in the class. So, आपको भी आपके school पसंद है या नहीं है? Most of the children, I know, they love their school and they look forward to going to school. But there are some children who don't like their school or who don't like the fact of getting up early in the morning and going to school. So, which one are you and how do you deal with that dilemma? Alright, so discuss with your classmates, your friends, and also with your teachers. Now, let's read this story. Monday morning found Tom Sawyer miserable. Monday morning always found him so because it began another week's slow suffering in school. He generally began that day with wishing he had no holiday in between. It made the going into prison again so much worse. His brother Sid was still snoring loudly on the bed beside him. Tom lay thinking. Presently occurred to him that he wished he was sick. Then he could stay home from school. He examined himself. No sickness was found and he investigated again. This time he could detect stomachache. But it soon grew feeble and presently died wholly away. So Tom Sawyer जो था उसको हमेशा मंडे मॉर्निंग को ही यूज टू फील मिजरेबल बिकॉज उसको लगता था कि चलो अब मेरी सफरिंग हैज स्टार्टेड, आई हैव टू गो टू स्कूल, आई हैव नो चॉइस, क्योंकि बीच में कोई छुट्टी भी नहीं आ रही है. तो वो ये सब सोचता था एंड ही यूज टू थिंक दैट स्कूल वाज अ प्रिजन फॉर हिम. और फिर वो देखता था कि उसका भाई जो है, छोटा भाई, वो सो रहा है, आराम से स्नोर कर रहा है. सो वो सोचता रहता था क्या मैं बीमार हूँ. सो देन ही स्टार्टेड चेकिंग हिमसेल्फ. बीमार तो नहीं हूँ. फिर उसको थोड़ा सा स्टमक एक फील हुआ. दैट ऑल्सो वेंट अवे. सो ही रियलाइज्ड कि नहीं, अभी तो मेरे पास कोई चॉइस नहीं है. ही रिफ्लेक्टेड फर्दर. सडनली ही डिस्कवर्ड समथिंग. वन ऑफ हिज अपर फ्रंट टीथ वॉज लूज. अब उसको वो सोचने लगा अब क्या करूँ, ना मैं स्टमक एक का बहाना बना सकता हूँ ना बीमारी का. फिर उसको रियलाइज होता कि जो ऊपर वाला उसका दांत जो है वो लूज हो रहा है. This was lucky. He was about to begin to groan as a starter, as he called it. When it occurred to him that if he came into court with that argument, his aunt would pull it out and that would hurt. So he thought he would hold the tooth in reserve for the present and seek further. So, जैसे ही वो सोचता है कि चलो मैं अब इसका बहाना बन के I'll start groaning in pain, और फिर वो सोचता है कि नहीं, अगर मैं ऐसे करूँगा तो मेरी जो आंटी है वो मेरा दांत खींच के ही निकाल देगी. तो वो कहता है कि नहीं नहीं नहीं, मैंने अभी ये टूथ का बहाना थोड़ा रिजर्व में रख देता हूँ एंड लेट मी सी इफ आई हैव सम अदर रीजन. Nothing offered for some little time, and then he remembered hearing the doctor tell about a certain thing that laid up a patient for 2 or 3 weeks, and he threatened to make him lose a finger. So the boy eagerly drew his sore toe from under the sheet and held it up for inspection. But now he did not know the necessary symptoms. However, it seemed well worthwhile to take a chance, so he fell groaning with considerable spirit. But Sid His brother slept on unconscious. Tom groaned louder and fancied that he began to feel pain in the toe. No result from Sid. Tom was panting with his exertions by this time. He took a rest and then swelled himself up and fetched a succession of admirable groans. Sid snored on. Tom was aggravated. He said, "Sid, Sid," and shook him. This course worked well, and Tom began to groan again. So अब उसके पास कोई बहाना उसको याद ही नहीं आ रहा था. फिर उसको याद आया कि डॉक्टर ने उसको एक चीज़ कही थी जिसकी वजह से वो 2-3 हफ्ते बेड पे रह सकता है. ओके, जिसको उसको एक वो भी डर दिया था कि अगर तुमने रेस्ट नहीं किया तो तुम्हारा फिंगर तुम खो दोगे. तो उसको याद आता है कि वो था उसके टो के बारे में. Okay, and then now he starts using that as a reason or an excuse for not going to school. और वो पेन में ऐसे groan करने लगता है, जोर जोर से बोलने लगता है, ouch, ये वो सब. But Sid तो उठता ही नहीं है. Okay, and finally this person has no choice but to shake Sid and wake him up and show that he is in pain in front of Sid. Alright, now let's track the performance so far and see how much you've followed the chapter by answering these questions. Quickly answer these questions. Alright, so Sid yawned, stretched, then brought himself up on his elbow with a snort and began to stare at Tom. Tom went on groaning. Sid said, "Tom, say Tom." No response. "Here, Tom, what is the matter, Tom?" And he shook him and looked in his face anxiously. Tom moaned out, "Oh, don't, Sid. Don't shake me. Why? What's the matter, Tom? I must call Auntie." "No, never mind. It will be over by and by, maybe. Don't call anybody." "But I must." "Don't groan so, Tom. It's awful." "How long have you been this way?" "Hours." "Ouch." "Oh, don't stir so, Sid. You'll kill me." "Tom, why didn't you wake me sooner?" "Oh, Tom, don't. It makes my flesh crawl to hear you. What is the matter?" "I forgive you for everything, Sid." Groan. By groaning, he says, "Everything you've ever done to me when I'm gone." "Oh, Tom, you aren't dying, are you?" "Don't, Tom. Oh, don't." "Maybe I forgive everybody, Sid." And then he starts groaning again. Tell them so, Sid." "And Sid, you give my window sash and my cat with one eye to that new girl that's come to town and tell her." But Sid had snatched his clothes and gone. Tom was suffering in reality. Now his imagination was working well, and so his groans had gathered quite a genuine tone. Sid flew downstairs and said, "Oh, Auntie Polly, come, Tom's dying." "Dying? Yes. Don't wait. Come quick." "Rubbish. I don't believe it." So ये जो होता है Sid तो उठ जाता है और उठता है तो देखता है कि टॉम ग्रोन कर रहा है, पेन में है, और वो कंटिन्यूसली उसको पूछे जा रहा है कि व्हाट इज़ द मैटर, व्हाई आर यू इन सच पेन, एंड टेल मी, शेयर इट विथ मी, आई कैन हेल्प यू आउट, व्हाट इज़ इट, टेल मी एंड ऑल. सो ही इज़ कंटिन्यूसली ग्रोनिंग ओनली. टॉम तो कंटिन्यूसली ग्रोन कर रहा है, और वो जब हम ग्रोन करते हैं, पेन में होते हैं, तो हम ऐसे दिखावा कर, मतलब ही इज़ ट्राइंग टू शो ऑफ दैट आई एम गुड टू डाई, और मैं मर जाऊँगा तो मेरा विंडो सैश तुम, और वो मेरी जो एक आँख वाली बिल्ली है तुम मेरी दोस्त को दे देना, to that new girl who's there and all. So अब जो ये सिड थोड़ा डर जाता है, seeing Tom in so much pain, and Tom अब पूरे naturally उसमें घुस गया था, in that acting as though it was like real, for real. So सिड जो है भाग के जाता है आंट पॉली के पास और उसको बोलता है कि Tom is dying. So आंटी कहती dying? I don't believe this, okay? और बोलते नहीं आप जल्दी जल्दी चलो. But she fled upstairs, nevertheless, with Sid and Mary at her heels. And her face grew white too, and her lips trembled. When she reached the bedside, she said, "What's the matter with you?" "Oh, Auntie, I am..." "What's the matter with you? What is the matter with you, child?" "Oh, Auntie, my sore toe's dying." The old lady sank down into a chair and laughed a little, then cried a little, then did both together. This made her feel better, and she said, "Tom, what a turn you did give me. Now you shut up that nonsense and climb out of this." So जैसे ही वो ओल्ड लेडी वहाँ पे आती है एंड शी सेज शी आस्क्ड हिम कि क्या हुआ टॉम. सो ही सेज कि देखो आंटी मेरा जो टो है वो इट्स डाइंग एंड देन दैट ओल्ड लेडी शी जस्ट सिट्स इन द चेयर और फिर वो हंसने भी लगती है, फिर वो रोने भी लगती है और वो कहती है टॉम तुमने तो मुझे डरा ही दिया, चलो अब चुपचाप से उठ जाओ और ये सारा नॉनसेंस रोक दो. Okay, the groans stopped and the pain vanished from the toe. The boy felt a little foolish and he said, Aunt Polly, it seemed dying and it hurts so I never minded my tooth at all. Your tooth, indeed? What's the matter with your tooth? One of them is loose and it aches perfectly awful. Then there, now, don't begin that groaning again. Open your mouth. Well, your tooth is loose, but you're not going to die from that. Sid, get me a silk thread and a chunk of fire out of the kitchen. Tom said, Oh, please, Auntie, don't pull it out. It won't hurt any more. I wish I may never stir if it does. Please don't, Auntie. I don't want to stay home from school. So, फिर वो कहता है कि आंटी वो उतना ही मुझे दर्द कर रहा था जितना कि मेरा दांत मुझे दर्द कर रहा है. तो आंटी कहती है कि दांत, क्या बात है, तुम्हारे दांत में क्या हो गया? तो कहता है माई फ्रंट टूथ इट्स लूज. सो कहते हैं कोई बात नहीं, विल पुल इट आउट एंड देन शी वो बोलती है कि मेरे लिए सिट को बोलती है एक सिल्क का थ्रेड लेके आओ. ओके, एंड ऑल्सो अ चंक ऑफ फायर फ्रॉम द किचन. अब टॉम तो डर जाता है. ओके, कहते हैं आंटी नहीं नहीं प्लीज उसको खींच के बाहर मत निकालो, आई इट विल पेन मी मोर, और फिर मुझे घर पे नहीं रुकना है, मुझे स्कूल जाना है. Oh, you don't you? So all this row was because you thought you'd get to stay home from school and go fishing. Tom, I love you so, and you seem to try every way you can to break my old heart with your mischief. By this time, the dental instruments were ready. The old lady made one end of the silk thread fast to Tom's tooth with a loop and tied the other to the bedpost. Then she caught hold of the chunk of fire and suddenly pushed it almost into the boy's face. The tooth was hanging loosely by the bedpost now. So, वो कहती है कि टॉम जितना मैं तुमसे प्यार करती हूँ उतने ही तुम बहाने बनाते हो स्कूल मिस करने के लिए. नाउ आई नो व्हाट ऑल यू आर डूइंग. सो कहते कि नहीं नहीं आंटी प्लीज डोंट डू एनीथिंग. बट वो उसने तो वो डेंटल इंस्ट्रूमेंट उसका रेडी कर दिया था. वो सिल्क का थ्रेड आ गया था, चंक ऑफ फायर आ गया था, एंड देन शी टाइड, एक एंड जो है दांत में टाई किया, दूसरा बेड पोस्ट पे टाई किया, एंड देन शी मैनेज टू पुल द टूथ आउट. So, children, this is how she taught Tom a lesson that he cannot make excuses anymore. When you try to make excuses, you get caught. And when you get caught, then you have to suffer, isn't it? So, children, ये एक लेसन है. जब हम भी स्कूल मिस करना चाहते हैं तो हमारे पेरेंट्स भी एक एक ऐसी चीज़ें करते हैं जिसकी वजह से हम तो मतलब हक्का बक्का रह जाते हैं. हमें कुछ समझ भी नहीं आता कि हाउ डिड दे मैनेज टू कैच अस, इजंट इट? सो चिल्ड्रन, be truthful, be honest. Sometimes it's okay to make all these excuses for not going to school, but not always, right? Enjoy your school days. They're not going to come back. All right. Now quickly reread this chapter. Learn the important words, the difficult words, their meaning, and don't forget to do the back exercises.